This is Sara Sach with Posh Pooch Designs, and today's video I'm going to show you how to make an apple coaster that's the perfect gift for your child's brand new teacher. It's a really simple coaster to make, and it can also be used as an applique, maybe if you wanted to make a school bag or anything that you wanted to add a nice apple applique to. Now I made this red one and this green one, and today I'm going to make a yellow one to show you you can make an apple in any color that you'd like. Now this is a free crochet pattern on my blog. It's just called the Apple Coaster Crochet Pattern, and you can find that link down in the notes underneath the video. To make an apple coaster, you're going to need a small amount of brown for the stem, a little bit of green for the leaf, and then a little bit of yellow or red or green or whatever color that you want to make the apple itself. Now I designed it to sort of look like a red delicious, green delicious, or yellow delicious apple. It has the 2 bumps at the top and then the 3 little bumps at the bottom, just to make it fun. You're also going to need an H hook, and we'll be stitching with our 5mm H hook today. You'll need a needle for sewing on your pieces and weaving in your ends. And then you'll need a pair of scissors just to clip those ends off. So gather up your supplies and we'll make us some apples. So the coaster measures about 4 inches across and about 4.5 inches tall, just to give you an idea of the size of the apple coaster. I'll set that one aside and we'll go ahead and get started with our yellow one. So we're going to begin with a slip knot, and then we're going to chain 4. Here's our chain 4. Our first 3 chains will count as our first double crochet. Then we'll stitch a double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. Yarn over, go in that 4th chain and pull up a loop. Yarn over, go through the first 2 loops. Yarn over and go through the second 2 loops. So we have our chain 3 that counts as a double crochet, and then we have 1 double crochet, and we're going to stitch 8 more double crochets in this 4th chain so that we have a total of 10 double crochets in that 4th chain from the hook. Now this will be a little bit scrunchy or tight, and you'll have to really push hard to get all 10 of those in there if you chained really tightly. Now as you're working, if it forms a little hole, don't worry. We'll use this extra piece of yarn to come back and close that hole when we're done. Alright, so here's my chain 3 that counted as my first double crochet. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I need to do 1 more double crochet, and then we're going to join to the top of the chain 3. So we'll put our hook through, yarn over, and pull a loop through, and then we'll pull that loop through the loop that's already on our hook. That's a slip stitch, and then we're going to chain 3. And this is how your first row should look. 10 double crochets, join with the slip stitch, and chain 3. So now we're ready for row or round 2. Now our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. We're going to place another double crochet in that same stitch as our chain 3. And then we're going to place 2 double crochets in each of the stitches around. And this is going to get us 20 double crochets. Our first row we had 10, and now we're going to have 20 because we're placing 2 double crochets in each double crochet around. We'll place 2 double crochets in each stitch around, and then we'll join to the top of our chain 3 like we did for round 1, and then we'll chain 3 again. So just to repeat, 2 double crochets in each stitch, working all the way around, and then join to the top of our chain 3. I stitched 2 double crochets in each of the double crochets around, and now I'm ready to join. So I'm going to join to the top of that chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3. So for the next row, we're actually going to do the same thing we did for the second row. The difference is, because there's 20 stitches and we put 2 stitches in each one, we're going to get 40 stitches, or 40 double crochets. Our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. So we're going to place a double crochet right in that same double crochet as our chain 3. So that makes 2 double crochets. Now we're going to place 2 double crochets in each of the double crochets around, just like we did on the previous row. And because we're stitching in 20 double crochets, we're going to end up with 40 double crochets. The first row we had 10, and we put 2 double crochets in each of the double crochets, which gave us 20. And now we're putting 2 double crochets again in each of the double crochets, and so we're doubling, and this is going to give us 40 double crochets. And the reason we're doing it this way is we want a nice flat coaster. So just to repeat, we're stitching 2 double crochets in each double crochet around, and then we'll join. But don't chain 3, because the last row is where we add those bumps to make it look like an apple. So we're ready to do our last row, and the way that works is we're going to start here. We're going to make the first bump, work our way down, make the 3 bumps at the bottom, then work our way back up and make the last bump on this side, just to give you an idea of how we're working it. All right? Okay, so we did our 40 stitches, 2 double crochets in each of the stitches around, and then we just did a join, but we didn't chain 3 because we don't want to chain 3 on this row. All right, so we just did a join, and we're going to single crochet in the first 2 stitches. Okay, so just to make sure you know what a single crochet is, we're going to go in the stitch, we're going to pull up a loop, you'll have 2 loops on your hook, and then you'll just yarn over and go through both of those loops. So there's 1, and there's 2. Now in the next stitch we're going to place 2 half double crochets, and to make a half double crochet you yarn over, go in the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3 of those loops on your hook. And we're going to do that again in that same double crochet, so that we have 2 half double crochets in the next stitch. I got a little string there. There we go. Now the next stitch we're going to place 2 double crochets, and this is making our bump at the top of our apple. So we're going to go in and do our double crochet, and then we'll do it again in that same stitch. And you can see it's moving up. And then the next stitch we're going to stitch 2 half double crochets again. So yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through both or all 3 of those loops. And then we'll do that again in the same stitch. And that's made our first little bump on our apple. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make 10 single crochets moving down the side of our apple. All right, there's 5. You need to do 5 more. All right, so there's 10. Here's our first bump, and then we moved down the side and did 10 single crochets. Now we're going to make those 3 bumps on the bottom. So in the next stitch, we're going to stitch 2 double crochets. There's 1, and there's 2. And then we're going to stitch 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. So 1 single crochet, 2, and 3. And then we're again going to place 2 double crochets in the same stitch. And then we're going to place 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. So we've got 2 bumps made at the bottom. We need to make 1 more. So we'll stitch 2 double crochets in the next stitch. 1 and 2. And that makes those 3 bumps on the bottom. And then we're going to move back up the side of this side and do 10 single crochets. All right, there's 5 of the 10. You can see those bumps make it look like a red delicious or yellow delicious or green delicious apple. Make 5 more single crochets, so we have 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now we need to do the last bump that we did over here. So we're going to put 2 half double crochets in the next stitch. There's 1 and 2. 2 double crochets in the next stitch. There's 1 and 2. And 2 half double crochets in the next. 1 and 2. And then we have 2 stitches left, so we're just going to put a single crochet in those last 2 stitches, and then we're going to join to that first single crochet with a slip stitch, and then we'll tie off. Cut my string, and we'll go ahead and tie that off. And this is how the apple looks at this point. It's shaped like a nice apple, but it's missing a stem and a leaf. All right, so let's add the stem next. We're going to take our brown yarn and we're going to go right in that single crochet that's in the center of the top of our apple. And we're going to pull a piece of yarn through and we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. So here's our chain 5. We're going to skip that first chain that's next to our hook, and we're going to slip stitch right in that next chain. And we'll do this all the way back down to the apple. All right, so there's our little stem. We're going to go ahead and cut that off. Like that. And we'll use our needle to weave that into the back. And I just go right in where I came up so that it's to the back. And I also kind of go back up into the stem just a little bit, like that, just so that we can get it weaved in and it's going to hold. We want this to be able to go to the wash, just in case whoever you give this to, or even yourself, wants to put it through the laundry. Go one way, then back the other. And then we'll go ahead and cut off those. So now the apple has a little stem, a really easy little stem. Next it needs the leaf. So to make our little leaf, we're going to make a slip knot and chain 8. So here's our 8 chains. We're going to skip that first chain next to our hook, and we're going to single crochet in the second chain from the hook. Then we're going to half double crochet in the next chain. Then we'll double crochet in the next 2 chains. Next, we'll half double crochet in the next chain. Then we'll single crochet the next chain and then slip stitch in that last chain. And that gets us a nice little leaf. We'll go ahead and clip that. Tie that off, and then we'll sew this in place. And placement is kind of up to you where you want to put it. I like it where it kind of sticks up because that gives plenty of room to put the cup on the coaster. Alright, so let's go ahead and put the yarn in our needle. I want to put it at the base of the stem and just kind of go down and back up like that. I'm just going to pull that to the back. And then I'm going to use the other end and do the same thing. So I'm just going to go down in there, kind of stitch up and down just so that the stem stays put, and then we'll turn it over. And just weave it in a little bit so it stays on. Make sure we snug that down. There we go. Do the other one. One way, and then come back the other way. Just like that, and trim that off. Now, if your coaster ended up with a little hole in the middle, let me show you how you can fix that. Take that piece of yarn that we started with and put it on your needle. And then we're going to close up this little hole. And what we do is we just go right around that first row of double crochets that we stitched in the circle. Go through those stitches, and you can see we can gently pull that in. And see how that closes up? That's the back, that's the front, nice and closed up. And then we'll just go the other way so those stitches don't come out. And then turn and go back the other way. And by going through those stitches, that's going to stay nice and snug, going back and forth with our needle. And that is how you make an apple coaster.